It is Friday, May 13th. You're watching Right on Cue College Sports. That is right, you are watching Right on Cue College Sports. I am your host, Tyson Quiller. Thanks for checking us out again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Feel free to share this content with anyone you think might find it interesting. And remember, I'm always looking for your feedback. Get me at RightOnQCS on Twitter or RightOnQCS@gmail.com. I'm going through those emails, going through those messages. I'm going to be reviewing your feedback and adjusting the content in these shows, especially as we are in this wide span of time between college basketball and college football. I'm trying to get after as many of these additional college sports as I can to get content out there so that you are aware, you are appraised of what college activity is taking place, and there is some fun stuff going on. We talked about college track and field last week. We're going to talk about college hockey next week, and today we are going to be talking about the boys and girls of summer. We got about, over the next 2 weeks, conference championship tournaments for men's college baseball, women's college softball, and then after regionals, super regionals, we will be looking at the women's college softball World Series, which as always takes place in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and the College Baseball World Series in Omaha, Nebraska. Now, me and a couple of my buddies had the opportunity to go to Omaha and watch a game at the Men's College Baseball World Series a couple of years back. So much fun. These two cities are both kind of diamonds in the rough. A lot of, they get overlooked, a little under the radar, but they're fun cities. These are fun events. If it's not too expensive, if you are looking for an opportunity to travel and watch some collegiate athletics, these are two events and locations that you want to probably take a look at going to. And who knows, maybe your team surprises and makes it into the final 8 of the World Series bracket. That won't be the case for Colorado because we don't have a baseball team. But we're going to cover it anyways. And so why don't we just go ahead and start right here with men's baseball. We're going to go ahead and touch base, get an idea of the landscape, how things are on the ground, who are the best teams, who are the best players, because this is our first time touching in on these two sports. I plan on doing at least one more episode on both, being a recap of the World Series. I may do a preview as well before the World Series. You give me your feedback, you let me know what you want to see. But let's start right here with the top teams in men's college baseball right now. At number 1, the Tennessee Volunteers, 42-6 on the year. They have beaten Vanderbilt 3 times in the last month. For those of you that don't know, Vanderbilt recently won a national championship. Vanderbilt is very much kind of a perennial powerhouse in college baseball, and Tennessee had beat them 3 times in the last month. They also won 2 out of 3 over Auburn at the end of April. For this Tennessee Vol squad, pitching really leads the way. The Vols lead baseball, all of college baseball, with the lowest ERA in the country of 2.20 runs per game. And they also have the most home runs per game. So they get it on the offense. They also get it with the pitching. This is a very strong team. In every one of the polls, Tennessee is number 1. They're pretty consistent, unanimous number 1 as of right now. So that's the odds-on favorite to win the College Baseball World Series right now. Number 2. Out of the Pac-12, Oregon State, 38-9 on the year. They've beaten Gonzaga, who's a pretty darn good baseball program, 2 times back in February. But more recently, they lost 2 out of 3 to Stanford, though. So a little bit of up and more so a little bit down in the last month or so. Oregon State's going to need a strong Pac-12 conference tournament to really assert themselves going into postseason play. At number 3, Oklahoma State Cowboys, 34-13 on the year. They won 2 out of 3 from Vanderbilt back in February as well. They've lost, though, 3 times to Gonzaga. And then most recently, they got 3 wins in a row over Texas, which was pretty impressive and has them kind of rolling on a high note going into the Big 12 championship tournament. Arkansas is number 4, 36-12. They lost to Stanford back in February. But since then, they've won 3 times versus LSU just this last month. And then they followed that up by losing 2 out of 3 to A&M. So kind of a lot of up and downs. Like I said, Tennessee has really kind of established themselves as the class of the field. The rest of these teams have had little bits of ups and downs down the stretch of the season here. Number 5, Virginia Tech out of the ACC, 33-10. They lost 3 straight to Georgia Tech in March, which is really not a very solid performance. But they beat Notre Dame, and 2 out of 3 times they beat Miami. Miami is a pretty dang good program as well, so that has them up in the top 5 right now. Number 6 is that Miami Florida Hurricane squad, 35-12 on the year. Then you have Louisville at 7, 33-13-1, and Stanford at 8, 29-14. All of the last 3 here have at least 2 top 10 wins on the year. Like I said, just rounding this out, Tennessee is the clear favorite, but the rest of the field, like I said, is really, really wide open. And so it'll be interesting to see who jockeys, who positions we'll see as we go through conference tournaments, as we go through regionals, super regionals. I would anticipate at least 6 of these teams are going to make the College Baseball World Series. There could be 2 people from outside the top 8 that upset and make it into or 2 teams that make it into the College Baseball World Series. Tennessee will not be one of those that gets upset. And then we'll see. From that grouping, it's basically Tennessee versus the field. Now let's take a quick look here at the past champions in college baseball. Last season, Mississippi State, Chris Lemonis, the head coach, really put together a hell of a season for the Bulldogs down there in Mississippi. They ended up winning the national championship in a shutout, 9-0 over, like I said, perennial powerhouse Vanderbilt. The 2020 season obviously was canceled due to COVID, but in 2019, Vanderbilt head coach Tim Corbin, they knocked off Michigan. That was the College Baseball World Series tournament that I was able to visit. They knocked off Michigan 8-2, but if you look at this here, Vanderbilt, had there not been COVID, Vanderbilt could have been in the championship game 3 seasons in a row. Pretty dang impressive for head coach Chris Lemonis. 2018, you had Oregon State knocking off Arkansas 5-0, and then you can see the rest of the list here. How about let's check in with player awards. So the Heisman Trophy for college baseball is called the Dick Howser Trophy. And here's our last 3 seasons winners. In 2021, pitcher Kevin Kopps from Arkansas, he just allowed 9 earned runs in 89 and 2/3 innings of pitching. Wildly impressive. The winner in 2019 was the catcher Adley Rutschman from Oregon State. Had a .411 batting average, 17 home runs, and 58 RBIs, and he was a pretty dang good catcher in the field as well. And in 2018, the pitcher, Brady Singer from Florida, 12-1 record with a 2.30 ERA, 107 strikeouts on the season. So let's take a look at our top contenders for the Dick Howser Trophy this year, 2022. You have shortstop Brooks Lee from Cal Poly. He's batting .368, has 67 hits, 20 of them doubles, 40 RBIs on the season. Outfielder Jacob Berry from LSU. He was originally playing at Arizona, transferred to LSU, has a .378 batting average, 15 home runs, and 46 RBIs on the season. And outfielder Gavin Cross from Virginia Tech, 60 hits, 32 RBIs, and he's maybe the most impressive in the field, .989 fielding percentage. One other guy to keep your eye on is the catcher from Arizona, Daniel Susac, batting .363, has 48 ribbies on the year. So let's take a look and appraise you of the upcoming baseball slate. Some of the bigger games coming up this weekend. 1 p.m., number 7 Louisville travels to number 5 Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is 3rd in the country at 2 home runs per game on average, but Louisville is 13th in the country at team batting average, averaging .310. I think this is going to be a shootout. Not a ton of defense in this one. Look for like a 8-6 final, 8-7 final score here. At 2 p.m., number 6 Miami hosts number 21 Florida State. And look at this, Florida State sophomore pitcher Parker Messick, averaging only allowing 6 hits per 9 innings. But in the 3-game series, he'll probably only pitch once. I think Miami wins at least 2 of these. Then at 7 p.m. in the evening, number 9 Texas Tech travels to number 3 Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is 5th in the country with 11.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. Wildly solid pitching rotation for the Cowboys. However, Texas Tech is second in the country with 122 doubles on the season. Something's got to give here. You got a high-powered offense going in against really strong, stout pitching in this one. I would give the nod to Oklahoma State because they are at home, maybe 2-1. This will not be a sweep. At 7:30 p.m., number 24 Vanderbilt travels to number 4 Arkansas. Now, both of these teams are top 5 in the country in ERA, 3.25 and 3.38 respectively. This, too, will be a defensive struggle. I see this one being a low-scoring one, maybe a 1-0, 2-1, 2-0 final score in most of these games. At 9 p.m., number 2 Oregon State faces Arizona in Tucson. The Beavers are 6th in the country, drawing almost 6 walks per game. They're also number 1 in the country in fielding percentage. I already mentioned, though, Daniel Susac, an outstanding potential player of the year from Arizona at catcher. He is great, but Arizona just does not have enough offense outside of him. I think Oregon State could potentially come up with a sweep here. And for those of you wondering, number 1 Tennessee, they are in action. They are hosting Georgia this weekend. Now, they haven't played Georgia at all this year. Georgia is currently 32-16 on the year, so Tennessee will probably get the sweep there. Now, let's take a look at the projections for the field of 64 according to D1Baseball.com. Now, this is just like how we do with college basketball. The regionals are going to be the round of 64 to 32. The round of 16 is what's called the super regionals. Then we trim to 8 teams, and that is going to kick off our College Baseball World Series. Here's what we've got so far. Last 4 in at number 61, San Diego, 62, Louisiana Tech, 63, Louisiana, and the 64th last team into the field projected is Pittsburgh. First 4 teams out, you have Texas, San Antonio, Alabama, Coastal Carolina, and Illinois. So let's look at the regionals projections here. And unlike in basketball, where you do 4 regions of teams seeded 1 to 16, this is actually 16 regions, teams seeded 1 through 4. So nobody is seeded below a 4. You have seeds 1, 2, 3, and 4 in 16 separate regions. So first we have the Knoxville region. You have number 1 Tennessee going up against number 4 Coppin State, 2 Georgia Tech going up against 3 Connecticut. Over in the Spokane region, it's projected number 1 Gonzaga, number 4 North Dakota State, 2 UCLA, and 3 Pennsylvania. In Corvallis, number 1 Oregon State against number 4 Central Connecticut, 2 Grand Canyon against number 3 Wake Forest. In the Baton Rouge region, you have number 1 LSU taking on number 4 McNeese, number 2 Texas taking on number 3 Louisiana Tech. In the Blacksburg region, number 1 Virginia Tech, number 4 Fairfield, number 2 Wofford, number 3 West Virginia. And in the Charlottesville region, number 1 Virginia taking on number 4 Davidson, number 2 Maryland taking on number 3 Liberty. In the Stillwater region, number 1 Oklahoma State takes on number 4 Army, number 2 Texas State takes on number 3 San Diego. In the Eugene region, number 1 Oregon takes on number 4 UNLV, number 2 UC Santa Barbara takes on number 3 Vanderbilt. In Coral Gables, number 1 Miami is going to host number 4 Maine. 2 seed Texas Tech takes on 3 seed Florida. And in the Louisville region, number 1 seed Louisville gets 4 seed Ball State. 2 seed Arizona gets 3 seed East Carolina. In the Auburn regional, you have number 1 Auburn taking on number 4 Alabama State. 2 Florida State takes on 3 Kennesaw State. In the Athens regional, number 1 Georgia takes on number 4 College of Charleston. 2 Georgia Southern takes on 3 Mercer. In the College Station regional, 1 Texas A&M takes on 4 Wright State. 2 TCU will be playing number 3 Pittsburgh. Again, these are projections based on D1Baseball.com. In the Hattiesburg region, 1 seed Southern Miss takes on 4 seed Campbell. 2 seed NC State takes on 3 seed Louisiana. And in the South Bend regional, 1 seed Notre Dame takes on 4 seed Evansville. 2 seed Stanford takes on 3 seed Rutgers. In the Fayetteville region, 1 seed Arkansas is projected to go up against 4 seed Southeast Missouri State. And 2 seed Dallas Baptist projected to face 3 seed Oklahoma. Now let's take a quick look here for those of you who are of the betting persuasion at what our baseball championship odds look like at this point right now in the season. And you can see teams and their national title odds there. One seed clearly at plus 150 is Tennessee. That's as clear of a lock as you could probably get in such a large field. Just looking over the current odds from Caesar Sportsbook here, you have probably the best value on Notre Dame at plus 3,000. For those of you that don't bet all the time, if you don't know what that means if you bet 100, then you will get $3,000 if the bet pays out. Now, Notre Dame has 5 wins over ranked opponents, including 3 straight over Florida State at the beginning of April. They do finish the season with 3 at Miami coming up this weekend, though, so it will sort of determine whether they have any credibility at making a run over these next 3 games. I think Stanford and Texas Tech at plus 2,500 both have some great value as well. Stanford and Tech both have a pretty easy final 2 weeks into the tournament, as they don't play another ranked team in the regular season. Now, hearkening back to the projections we just saw from D1Baseball.com, they had both Stanford and Notre Dame in the same region. Obviously, only one of them would make it out of the regional, so keep that in mind when you're looking at the bracket or if you are placing money down on any of these wagers. One team I would tell you I would definitely stay away from is Georgia. The odds are far too great, and the payout is far too small for me on that one. All right, here it is. Pre-postseason play. My College Baseball World Series Championship pick, I have the Tennessee Vols knocking off the Virginia Tech Hokies in Omaha to secure the national title. So let's close out baseball right here, taking a look at some of the important dates upcoming. The auto qualifier date is May 29th for automatic qualification, that meaning conference champions from the conference tournament get the automatic qualification into the NCAA tournament field of 64. May 30th. At noon Eastern on ESPN2, the D1 Baseball Selection Show is going to select and seed and place all 64 teams in the bracket. Again, that is at noon Eastern, May 30th on ESPN2. Regionals start on June 3rd. The Super Regionals are on June 10th. The College Baseball World Series starts June 17th. All games of the College Baseball World Series are going to be broadcast on the ESPN family of networks. Again, this is an 8-team field competing at TD Ameritrade Park in Omaha, Nebraska, and a champion will be crowned on June 22nd or the 23rd. Now, how about let's take a look at what the ladies are doing in women's college softball. You have a far and away favorite, even more far and away favorite than Tennessee in men's baseball, and that is the Oklahoma Sooners lady softball team. They are 48-1 on the year, with their only loss being to their arch rival Texas a couple of months ago. They just beat number 6 Oklahoma State 3 times in a row, 7-1, 6-0, and 5-3. I mean, that is just a blowout of 3 games in a row against a really good Oklahoma State Cowboys squad. They have the highest batting average in the country at 372 on average, and they lead the nation with 2.5 home runs per game. In 41 of their 48 wins, they held their opponent to just 1 or fewer runs. This Oklahoma Sooner squad is fantastic. You will see multiple players from this team playing probably when the Olympics allow softball back in. They are professional caliber players. At number 2, Virginia Tech Hokies, 40-6 on the year. They beat Kentucky and Northwestern earlier in the year, 2 ranked programs as of right now. They did lose at Alabama twice, but they followed that up winning 3 in a row against Clemson, and then they won 2 out of 3 over Florida State. They have a pretty sterling schedule and record coming into the end of the season here. And speaking of Florida State, number 3 is Florida State, 49-5 on the year. They have a win over Tennessee, Texas, Michigan, Central Florida, and UCLA, all in February. Those teams are all ranked currently, but most recently they lost twice to number 2 Virginia Tech. That kind of established that even though Virginia Tech has 1 more loss and 9 fewer wins, they are the better team than Florida State right now. At number 4, Arkansas, 41-9. Arkansas is number 4 in both men's baseball and women's softball currently. Kind of neat for those 2 programs. They got crushed, though, 2 times versus Washington early in the year. Since then, though, they beat UCLA. They took 2 out of 3 from Tennessee, LSU, Kentucky, and then won 3 in a row over Florida. Arkansas is getting stronger and stronger down the stretch here. Then you have the best team in the Pac-12, most likely, UCLA, 40-8. They are a perennial powerhouse in softball as well. They started 39-5. However, they've dropped 3 out of 4 in their last 4 games, one of which was to Utah, and then they lost 2 out of 3 to Arizona State. UCLA kind of stumbling into the Pac-12 tournament here. Going to be interesting to see if they can turn it around and get that momentum back on track. At 6, Oklahoma State 30-12, 7, Northwestern 39-9, and 8, Alabama 41-10. Listen, in this field, Oklahoma, like I said, is the clear and most dominant team, but they have not played Florida State or Virginia Tech, who are 2-3 currently. I think Northwestern's probably the most underrated team here. They've beaten 8 ranked teams on the year and have a 39-9 record, and for some reason are in the 7 spot. This may be kind of the opposite of what you see in basketball, where the Big Ten teams are way overinflated. In women's softball, obviously, there is a bit of a bias towards Big Ten teams. I think Northwestern's done enough to prove they should probably be in the top 4 or 5, not down there at 7. Now let's take a look at past softball champions. 2021, Oklahoma. Patty Gasso is just a fantastic coach. She's been at Oklahoma for years and years. She is maybe one of the best coaches in softball history. They knocked off Florida State last year 5-1. Like with baseball, the 2020 season was canceled, or a postseason play was canceled. In 2019, UCLA Bruins head coach Kelly Inoue Perez, they won a very close championship, 5-4 over Oklahoma. You can see how Oklahoma's been quite dominant over the last 3 years now. And then in 2018, Florida State knocked off Washington 8-3. You can see the rest of the field there for yourself. Oklahoma, Florida State, and UCLA have been the most dominant teams as of late. Now, how about the best players in softball the last couple of years? Last year, Player of the Year at the utility position, Jocelyn Alo from Oklahoma. She batted .475, had 87 hits, 74 ribbies, and 34 home runs. She's a powerhouse. You're going to see here in a minute. She's leading the field for Player of the Year again this year. In 2019, pitcher Rachel Garcia won her second Player of the Year in a row with a record at pitcher 29-1, 1.14 ERA on 202 innings pitched. She had 286 strikeouts in 2019. And in 2018, the same woman, pitcher Rachel Garcia from UCLA, won her first National Player of the Year with a record of 29-4, 1.31 ERA on 208 innings pitched. That year, she had an NCAA record 315 strikeouts. Pretty impressive. Now the top candidates in women's softball this year. Like I mentioned, at the utility position, Jocelyn Alo from Oklahoma. She has the 4th best batting average in the country at .476. She's second in the country with 24 home runs on the year and has 61 RBIs. Other candidates, infielder Danielle Gibson from Arkansas, 70 hits, 62 RBIs. She has the 3rd best batting average in the country at .446 and 18 home runs to boot. And how about a pitcher? Danielle Williams, Northwestern. In 187 innings pitched, she's given up just 12 home runs. She has 1.49 ERA and is 8th in the country with 270 strikeouts on the season. And now for my pre-postseason play, softball championship prediction. I have UCLA getting back on track, rambling all the way to the World Series championship to take on the seemingly unbeatable Goliath of Oklahoma, and UCLA gets the win to win their national championship in women's softball. Now let's take a look at the upcoming schedule for women's softball, as they have mostly completed regular season play and are going into their conference tournaments this weekend. The presumptive national champion Oklahoma Sooners just finished their season out with a 3-game sweep of number 6 Oklahoma State. They outscored the Cowgirls 18-4 in those 3 games. Oklahoma on a roll. They're heading into the Big 12 championship tournament. As for Florida State, they play Virginia in the ACC tournament tonight. Virginia Tech also plays their opening round in the ACC tournament tonight against Louisville, most likely. Number 4, Arkansas, and number 8, Alabama also kicked off their play in the SEC tournament last night. Both teams won. The Hogs and Tide are expected to face off in the SEC championship. Number 5, UCLA is hosting California for a 3-game series this week. Cal is just 25-23 on the year. This should be a pretty clear sweep for UCLA to get them back on the right track. And now let's close this out with some important dates, just like we did with baseball, but for the ladies softball. May 15th, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. The Division I softball selection show is going to select, seed, and place all 64 teams. Once again, that is May 15th, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. The Women's College World Series starts on June 2nd. All games of that tournament are going to be broadcast on the ESPN family of networks. That's going to be fun to watch. If you haven't watched college softball before, it is so much fun. The 8-team field for the Women's College Softball World Series will compete in the U.S. Softball Hall of Fame Stadium, like I mentioned, in Oklahoma City, and a champion will be crowned on June 8th or 9th, depending on how the play plays out. So, for baseball, for softball, some exciting action going on. Hopefully you've learned a little bit of something about who's good, who's maybe not so good, who's trending up, who's trending down as we move into postseason play for both women's softball and men's baseball, and some players to keep your eye on. It's going to be a fun time of year. Again, I highly recommend, if you don't have plans coming up in June, maybe travel out to Omaha, travel out to Oklahoma City, check out some of this action, some of this fun. It is a tremendous time. And so, once again, thanks for joining us. This has been Right on Cue College Sports. I am your host, Tyson Quiller. Again, remember to like, subscribe, share this content with anyone you think might find it interesting. Get at me on Twitter at RightOnQCS and send me your feedback. Email rightonqcs@gmail.com. But until then, I'm going to just be here looking for your feedback. I'm going to be scouring the landscape for more college content to cover, and we will get at you next time.